Let me welcome our first speaker, who is James. So James is the CEO of Fine Hygienic. Thank you. Thank you for accepting our invitation to the CBD Talks. You are a thought leader with an impactful track record within Fine Hygienic and also before Fine Hygienic. And we are really impressed by your impact, by also the inspirational way you drive your business. So please, as a first question, and or perhaps as first set of recommendations with regards to the question, are you ready and equipped for the post-COVID era? What do you think? And please share your thoughtful experience. Thank you. Thank you, James.
Okay, thank you, Fareed and Suryo, for having me. I'm sorry, I'm getting a bit of feedback, but I'll keep going. It's a great question that you're asking, which is this readiness. And obviously, none of us know for sure because none of us have ever been through such a situation. So the best we can do is look at similar situations in the past and also even go back to the years 1918, 1919 during the Spanish flu epidemic early in the 20th century. And what I'd like to do is I've just got a few photos and a few slides. So if we could share those, Rose, let's go ahead and do that. And let's advance. So frankly, I think we all know, and it's a bit sad in some respects, but we're never going to go back to exactly the way it was before. Now, there's good with that, and then there's not so good. So let's click forward, Rose. This was Daniel Abrams is when he posts things on LinkedIn, he gets hundreds of thousands of responses. He put up this, and it got literally millions of impressions and engagements. And he said there's 5 things coming out of COVID. And when I saw this and I read it, I thought, you know what? I think he's kind of nailed it. Point number 1 is that the world is realizing life is short. I don't know of a single person that doesn't know somebody who was touched by COVID and a death of someone that they weren't expecting. In my company, we had 7 people pass away. None of them were that was not, they were not at the end stage of their life. They did not have a terminal illness, but they ended up succumbing to COVID. And so we've all learned that life is quite short. We've also learned that jobs are temporary. And you don't know. So many people during the midst of the COVID pandemic, they lost their job or they went to 50%. Again, I don't know of a single person who didn't have someone, friend or family, that was touched by a job loss during the significant period of the lockdowns. If you have money in the bank, this can save you because this is how many people made it, which was to have savings. And so these old principles that I grew up with, for example, you should always have 6 months' salary in the bank. They all came back to be true. Yes, living paycheck to paycheck is a tricky place to be. We've learned that nature deserves our respect. There was creeping into our society, in some respects, a bit of arrogance that we had beaten disease, we had beaten everything, that science could win every battle, and we learned a lesson. This little virus that you can't even see brought the whole world to a standstill and stopped entire industries from the airplane industry, the travel industry, a lot of the entertainment industry, obviously hotels and restaurants took a big hit. And then the biggest learning of all is I think people learned about the wealth that comes with health. And that if you look at that many of the people who did succumb or had serious impacts of COVID had pre-existing conditions from heart disease to potentially obesity, to high blood pressure, to lung issues, asthma. And this put people at higher risk. Other people got COVID and didn't even feel it. They tested positive, but they were asymptomatic. So this whole world of wellness has just surged to the front. And these 5 elements, in fact, interact. So if we can go to the next slide. And this is an ad, and I think we've all seen this advertising or this headline. They're talking about the U.S., millions of jobs and a shortage of applicants. Welcome to this new economy. The reason for this is because of those 5 points, people have a different perspective on what's important in their life. They have a perspective on health. They have a perspective on the longevity of a job. When people say to me, in their job, they say, well, my company loves me. My answer is always the same. They love you till they don't. That love's not eternal. It's not family love. Family love's eternal. Your mother and father will love you every day of their life, and you will love your children every day of their life. But corporate love is not family love. Corporate love is fleeting, and they love you till they don't. And I think a lot of people found that out. They thought they had love, and then the company said, I'm sorry, we can't pay you. You're out of a job. We know it's tough, but we're sorry, but that's the way it is. And they found out that the love wasn't forever. Next slide, please, Rose. So this brings us basically into 3 areas that you need to focus on as an individual and as leaders of your company. And what I've tried to do and find and to focus on. The first is around the culture. And what's the smell of the place? Because now people are quitting. And they used to not quit because they didn't want to take the risk, but now they're prepared to quit. And they're prepared to not be miserable. And I walk into companies all the time where you can feel it. The smell of the place is that sense. You can feel people are not happy. Now I'm trying obviously my very best and fine. I'm sure I have people that are not happy, but I'm trying to create that environment that has a great culture that people like to work in. The second component is wellness. It's personal wellness, and it's also even what you do corporately. In our company, we've gone all the way to where we're now a wellness company. We sell wellness products. We now have new products like Motiva Neuro Booster, which treats Alzheimer's. And we have some amazing products coming that improve the health of the world. And so we focus on it on a mass basis and try to help the societies that we live and work and play in, but also my employees, on-site fitness centers, health programs, health promotion, health training. Why do we do that? Because putting wellness into the workplace is important. And that was before COVID. Now it's very important. And the third is environmental impact. We've seen how some of the skies cleared up when the cars came off the road. We've seen the impact of disposable masks in our oceans. And there's data now in the Mediterranean. There are more masks floating in the ocean in the Mediterranean than there are jellyfish. We've polluted the world just significantly with using reusable gloves, reusable masks, all this new plastic being disposed of that didn't exist before. So all of this is come to the forefront through this pandemic. And these are things, if you want to be ready, you got to be thinking about. So next slide. These are the pointed questions that you have to ask yourself. And the questions I'm asking myself as the CEO of Fine Hygienic Holding every day. What is the smell of the place? What's the smell in your office? What do you sense? Because you got to ask yourself the big question, are you about to get hit by a wave of resignations? There are many companies, certainly in the US and in parts of Europe, they have seen massive resignations. I think some of these announcements that come out of Wall Street, like JP Morgan saying, everybody's going to be back in the office by September 1. I don't care about what anybody else is doing. I think they're going to get hit by resignations they've never seen before because they are not reacting to what's happening. We've learned that remote work can work. We've learned that a hybrid setup can work. We've learned that we can make these things work, and people are not going to go back. It's not going to be just march back to the office. And we have to think about that. Ask yourself what the smell of your place is, and are you working on it? Because you got to be careful. We're in a world now where a lot of people aren't going back, and there's job openings everywhere, and people have choices beyond belief, and we need to be ready. The second is to ask yourself the question, how can you impact health and wellness, both for your employees, your culture, but also how can you make an impact outside? Because this is top of mind. Folks, we pivoted as a company to wellness in 2018. Why did we do that? Because data from a number of sources said that by the year 2050, wellness would be the #1 global trend. This was before COVID. Before COVID. Can you imagine now where wellness is? It's #1 by a mile. It's so high. You've got to somehow be looking at wellness, whether it's the type of HR offerings you have, whether it's the kind of programs that you offer your employees and the kind of fringe benefits, or the kinds of products and services that you offer. How can you impact wellness? And you better make an impact because this is on everybody's mind. And then the third is to ask yourself a simple question. Are you an environmental villain or an environmental hero? You know, we're a paper company, and I had every paper mask manufacturer and plastic mask manufacturer in the world saying I should get into making disposable masks. My answer was absolutely not. We're going to be responsible. We did only reusable to save the planet. And that's the ethical, responsible thing to do. Every one of us has to have an obligation to protect this planet. And this is a plan our future, our children will inherit in the future, our grandchildren will inherit, and we have a moral obligation to look at the environment. And so ask yourself, how are you doing things? You know, the business that I'm in it can have bad impact. It's a paper business. It uses lots of water. It has to treat water. All of that has to be done. We are trying everything we can, from buying 100% sustainable pulp that goes in the paper to treat wastewater, treating every single drop of water that we use. We recycle it and clean it and treat it to make sure that it's safe to enter back into the ecosystem. We only use reusable masks. We only sell reusable masks and gloves. We're trying, and every company needs to step up on that. And it can be small decisions or it can be big decisions. Both are helpful and both make an impact on our world. Those are the questions you need to ask to make sure that you're ready as a company and as an individual and as a leader for this post-COVID era. I hope this has been helpful, and I will turn this back to the team. Thank you very much.